Hello students, in this video I'll take up the last part of the chapter Globalization and the Indian Economy. In my previous videos I told you what is globalization. It is the rapid integration of different markets which are present in different countries of the world. How MNCs, that is multinational corporations, they are spreading the production activities in different parts of the world and they are selling their products to all the countries or to different markets. Due to which the countries are coming together, the globe is actually increasingly becoming interconnected. Now in this section of the video, we'll discuss what are the effects of this globalization on different sections of our society. How it has affected the big multinational companies, how it has affected the small producers, the consumers and Indian economy as a whole. So let's begin. The impact of globalization in India. Increasing globalization has affected different sections of the society. First of all, let's see how it has affected the consumers. First, I have actually just pointed out the positive impact. So whatever we are discussing right now, they are the positive impact of the globalization. So as a consumer, you have benefited a lot from globalization. Now there is a whole range of items available in the market, in our Indian market, from all over the world. It has increased the choice for consumers. They enjoy better quality products at lower cost. Okay, so if you want to buy any consumer good, whether it is a simple thing like a soap, shampoo or a gadget, some mobile phone, maybe you want to go and buy a car. Okay, then if you go to the market, you will see a wide range of products available and you have to choose from it, whatever suits you the most. Alright, so there are Indian brands, there are foreign brands, all of them are easily available in the Indian market. Few decades back, it was not the case. Ask your parents and grandparents, they will tell you the Indian market was so different. We could get only those products which were domestically produced, that is in Indian society only. Okay, the imported goods were very costly because there was lot of import duty imposed on such goods. So right now, consumers have a wide variety of choice to choose from. So consumers have really benefited from this process of globalization. The second is the MNCs or multinational corporations. The doors of investment have opened up for multinational corporations. They have been investing large sum of money in India to earn huge profits. After the trade barriers have been removed by the Indian government, there is now absolutely a very minimal import duty and there is no quota system, and MNCs are actually encouraged to invest in India, to set up their production bases in India. So MNCs, they have started investing in Indian market. They have benefited in two ways. Firstly, in India, the resources are cheap and the labor is also cheap. So total cost of production has come down for them. On the other hand, India also offers a huge market for them. There is a growing population of youth, educated youth in India who are in the middle class, but their income is fast rising. So because of this, they are a good target for the consumer goods. So multinational corporations, they have invested in India and earned huge profits. So they have also benefited from this process of globalization. The third one is the domestic suppliers. Small production units who supply components to these MNCs, they have also been benefited. I will just give an example. Ford India, it has set up a huge production unit in Chennai. So they manufacture cars. Okay, so to manufacture car, they need certain smaller components. Those suppliers, those domestic suppliers who make these components and supply to such big production units, they have benefited because the demand for their product has increased. So such if they have actually latest technology, if they have adapted to the latest technology, then demand for their product has improved. The next one is Indian companies. There are many Indian companies also who have invested in newer technologies and newer production methods, and they are competing with the MNCs. So they have also benefited if they are right now they are able to compete with the MNCs in terms of quality and cost. Then they are also benefited by increase in the demand for their product. Next is collaboration. Many Indian companies, they have collaborated with the multinational companies from Europe or USA, and the collaboration, the joint venture has benefited the local companies, because whenever the MNCs they make a joint collaboration with the local companies, they MNCs bring in the investment, additional investment what is required, and also they bring with them the newer or the latest technology. Okay, so it has benefited the domestic producers. Then there are Indian MNCs. Many Indian companies have actually become multinational corporations. They have started setting up their production bases in different countries. They have started selling their domestic product to different other countries. For example, Tata Motors in automobiles, Infosys, IT, Ranbaxy and pharmaceutical medicines, Asian Paints, Sundaram Fasteners. These are some of the examples of Indian companies who have become multinational themselves, and I hope there are many more such companies. Next, lastly, the newer market and opportunities. With this advancement in IT and with this globalization, there are many new opportunities which have opened up and which have actually created more job opportunities, like call centers in India. In my previous video, I gave you the example of a London-based company who is publishing magazine. They are sending the design and the content to Indian companies, and the printing is done here, or maybe the designing is done here. So there are such new job opportunities which have come up due to this globalization and information technology. Okay, so all these were the positive impact of globalization. Now let's see whether it has really benefited all the sections or not, or what are the drawbacks of globalization. First is the labor. Okay, now due to the pressure by WTO and due to the pressure of big multinational corporations, the Indian government has made the labor laws quite flexible. Okay, now the companies can actually go for casual labor or contract labor. So for labor, there is no job security. Such multinational company, they hire the labor only when there is a requirement, according to their requirement. If there is a big order, then they will hire such more labor, and they can be said to leave whenever the requirement is low. Plus, such contract labor, the MNCs, the employers, they do not have to pay benefits like medical benefit or retirement benefit like provident fund, gratuity. They are not, the multinational companies or the big employers, they are not supposed to pay all these benefits to the contract labor. So this is the big drawback, because labor, they are now being affected. There is no job security. They have to work for long hours at lower wages. Overtime is not paid to them. Then second drawback is big Indian companies, those who have adopted to the new technology, they could actually compete with the MNCs and remain there in the competition. But what about the small scale industries who could not adapt to the newer or the latest technology because of lack of funds? So there were many such companies whose profit or whose demand has come down tremendously. There are many such small scale industries who are forced to shut down. Due to this, many employees, they lost their job, and many companies were shut down. It led to huge losses. A very good example to explain this is the case of Chinese toys, which I took up in my previous videos. Okay, when China started exporting their toys to the Indian market, those toys were newer in designs and they were quite cheap as compared to the toys prepared by the domestic producers in India. So within few years, 70 to 80% of the Indian toy market has been replaced by Chinese toys. So there were many such small scale industries, small production units which were forced to shut down because there was no demand for their product, and they could not compete with these low cost products coming from other countries. The third one is the unemployment. Whatever this new technologies which big companies are adopting, they are labor replacing. They require less of manual labor, more work is done by machine. This has also led to a lot of unemployment in India. Okay, so these are the few important drawbacks of globalization.
Now, subscribe to Bright Tutee course at ₹1 per day only. Download Bright Tutee app from Play Store and get the online courses prepared by competent and experienced teachers for different education boards of classes 6 to 10. Bright Tutee courses are available for the subjects of Math, Science, Social Science, English and Hindi in English and Hindi medium. Bright Tutee follows 3-step approach, that is learning, assessment and exam preparation. In learning, topic-wise video lectures with explanation of concepts and discussion of textbook examples and questions are available with the solutions. In assessment, topic-wise online MCQ test, practice assignments and chapter-wise question bank are available with the solutions. In exam preparation, previous year's question papers, sample papers and model test papers are available with the solutions. Sign up today on Bright Tutee and avail your courses at affordable prices.
Now, we'll understand these positive impacts and drawbacks by certain case studies. So, first case studies, step to attract foreign investment. Now, the central and the state government, they wanted to attract the foreign companies to come and invest in India and to set up their bases in India. For that, they have set up certain SEZs or the special economic zones. These special economic zones, they have world class facilities like electricity, water, transport, storage, best of the roads, also recreational and educational facilities for the families who will come and live there. So, companies who set up their production unit in SEZs, they do not have to pay taxes for initial 5 years. This was also done to attract the MNCs to come and set up their offices in India. Now, government also provided flexibility in the labor laws to attract this foreign investment. So, companies hire workers for a short time whenever there is intense pressure of work to reduce the total cost of labor. Now, foreign companies are demanding more flexibility in the labor laws. Okay, so from this case study, you can understand on one hand, these MNC will be benefited because they will get cheap labor. They do not have to pay taxes for 5 years. They will get world class facilities in those special economic zones. But what about the labor? They have to work for long hours. These SEZs will be far away from their homes, and they will not be any job security for them. Okay, so this way you can analyze on one way globalization has benefited such big companies, but on the other hand, it is not actually looking after the interest of the poor people. So some questions from this case study. Question number 1, how has competition benefited people in India? It has benefited consumers. I told you, as consumers have good choice available to them. It has benefited multinational corporations because they are able to make huge profits. It has benefited big Indian companies because they have either adopted the latest technology or they are in joint venture with these MNCs. It has helped some small companies also who are supplying components to these big corporations. Okay, so it has benefited certain sections of Indian society. Question number 2, should more Indian companies emerge as MNCs? How would it benefit the people in the country? Now, globalization has actually encouraged Indian companies to go global. Like I told you about Tata Motors or Renbexi, Infosys, there are many Indian companies who are going global, who have themselves become multinational company. They are investing their money abroad and setting up new industries and also acquiring companies. Now, it will lead to greater integration of different markets of the world. But on one hand, it will lead to economic prosperity of India. But on the other hand, the domestic investment is going abroad. Okay, so it will lead to unemployment in India, because there will be more job opportunities in those countries where they will set up the production units. So it has both plus and minus. Next, why do governments try to attract more foreign investment? Okay, why are the state government and the central government, why do they want more and more MNCs to come and invest in India, to set up their offices and production units in India? Why is it so? Firstly, the MNCs, they bring with them money and capital. Then it brings with them latest technology. So all this, it creates more job opportunities, more employment. If there are more offices and production units, there will be more employment opportunities. So this will lead to more income in the economy. More people will be employed, better income of the people. Also, it encourages competition, and it forces the domestic companies to adopt new technology, because domestic producers, then they have to compete with multinational companies. To remain in competition, they have to adopt latest technology, which will give rise to better quality products in the market. Now, export also gets stimulated because of improved quality. If these domestic companies, they also start producing good quality product, their product will be exported to other countries. And the government, out of all these activities, government will earn more tax revenue. So it's beneficial for the country if more and more MNCs are coming and investing in India. Next question. In chapter 1, we saw that what may be development for one may be destructive for the other. The chapter development, I told you, sometimes the development, they are contradictory. What may be development for one may be actually destructive for the other. Okay, so in setting up of SEZ, that is special economic zones, it has been opposed by some people in India. Find out who are these people and why are they opposing it. So whenever SEZs are set up, actually they need large pieces of land. So this land is being acquired by the farmers. So these farmers, they lose their earnings, they lose their source of livelihood, because their land is gone. So whatever the recurring income they were getting from the land, it goes off. Then the labor does not get protection of labor laws in those companies who set up their offices in SEZs. So on one hand, farmers are losing their source of livelihood, laborers, they are getting exploited, and then small scale industries, they cannot compete with the products of the big companies. So these are certain sections of the society who will oppose these setting up of SEZ, because what is development for those MNCs is actually destructive for this section of the society. Next, another case study, small producers compete or perish. A case of rising competition. Okay, so this is a case study about Ravi, who is a small industrialist. He took a loan from this bank and started his own enterprise, who was producing capacitors in 1992. Within 3 years, he was able to expand. He had 20 workers working under him. The capacitors are used in is a important component used in many industries, like in television and such other electronic products. Now, government removed the restrictions on import of capacitors as an agreement with WTO in 2001. So Ravi's main client were the television companies who used to buy capacitors in bulk from him. Now, some television companies, these big companies, they could not compete with the MNCs, and they started assembling product for those MNCs. So the demand for capacitors reduced. On the other hand, some other television companies, they started importing capacitors from some other country. So demand for those capacitors which was being made by Ravi's industry further went down. Okay, on one hand, some companies, they stopped making television, they started assembling the products for MNCs. The other companies, they started importing capacitors. Okay, so what will happen? Ravi now produces less than half of the capacitors and has only 7 workers. Earlier I told you he has 20 workers. So 13 workers lost their job, revenue of Ravi reduced, his profit margins reduced. So this is just an example to show you how small scale production units they suffered because of globalization. Either they have to compete with the multinational company or they'll perish. So there are many such industries where small manufacturers have been hit hard due to competition, like batteries, capacitors, plastics, toys, tires, dairy products, vegetable oils, etc. Several such units have shut down and many workers have lost their jobs. They have become jobless.
Now, subscribe to Bright Tutee course at ₹1 per day only. Download Bright Tutee app from Play Store and get the online courses prepared by competent and experienced teachers for different education boards of classes 6 to 10. Bright Tutee courses are available for the subjects of Math, Science, Social Science, English and Hindi in English and Hindi medium. Bright Tutee follows 3-step approach, that is learning, assessment and exam preparation. In learning, topic-wise video lectures with explanation of concepts and discussion of textbook examples and questions are available with the solutions. In assessment, topic-wise online MCQ test, practice assignments and chapter-wise question bank are available with the solutions. In exam preparation, previous year's question papers, sample papers and model test papers are available with the solutions. Sign up today on Bright Tutee and avail your courses at affordable prices.
So let's work these out. Question number 1. What are the ways in which Ravi's small production unit was affected by rising competition? Firstly, he could not face competition from the imported capacitors, and so the demand for his capacitors reduced, his revenue decreased, and there were many workers who lost their job. So just like this Ravi, there were many such small scale producers who were forced to shut down. Question number 2. Should producers such as Ravi stop production because of the cost of production is higher compared to producers in other countries? So the heading of this case study was compete or perish. So if you're not able to compete with these MNCs, then there is no other option. The small production unit will be forced to shut down. So to compete with them, they have to adapt newer technology. So in this case, government support will be of quite beneficial if government can provide newer technology to the small producers, if it can give them loan or if it can give training or workshops that how to improve the quality. It will really help the small producers like Ravi. Next question. Recent studies point out that small producers in India need 3 things to compete better. First is better road, power, water, raw material. That means all such infrastructure. Secondly, they need improvement and modernization of technology. Thirdly, availability of credit at lower interest rate. So if these 3 things are provided to the small producers, they will be able to compete better with the multinational corporations. How? Question is, can you explain how these 3 things would help? Okay, if there is better infrastructure, the quality of the production cost will reduce. If the technology is better, the quality of product will be better, and if the credit is available to them, then what will happen? They will be able to invest more to buy latest technology and to improve the quality of their product. So it will really help in bringing down the cost of production and improving the quality of the product. Question number 2. Do you think MNCs will increase investing in these? MNCs will be interested in investing in these. Now the main aim of MNCs in investment is to earn profit out of it. How can whatever they look for is how can they reduce the cost of production and increase their profit margin. That's the main aim. So MNCs will not be interested in providing credit at low rate or in providing the infrastructure in India, in foreign countries, because it will not earn them good profits. Okay, so it is the duty or responsibility of the government. Next question, do you think government has a role in making these facilities available? Definitely yes, because domestic private companies or foreign multinational corporations, they will not be interested in providing these 3 things: the infrastructure, the newer technology or credit at lower rate, because Their main aim is to earn profit. So it is the responsibility of the government to provide these three things to the small domestic producers. Next question, can you think of any other step that the government should take? I think the government can, apart from providing credit at lower rate, providing newer technology, the government can provide workshops and training how to improve the quality of the product. So these are the three things government can do: providing credit at lower rate, providing newer or latest technology to the small producers to improve the quality, and thirdly, giving them workshops and training how to improve the quality at a lower rate. So these are the three steps which can be taken up by the government to support the small producers. Case study number 3, competition and uncertain environment. Now, as you know, globalization and increased competition have substantially changed the lives of the workers, because the government had made the labor laws quite flexible. So there is no job security. More and more companies, they are hiring the labor on a contractual basis. Now the garment industry in Europe and America, they are ordering the products from Indian exporters. They send the design, quality, everything about the design, the quality, what material is to be used. They send it to the Indian exporters, and these exporters, they make their product and send it to the MNCs, which are then sold under their brand names. Now Indian exporters, they try to cut their cost to max, because they have to maximize their profit, because the MNCs want these products at a lower cost. So how can they cut the cost? The cost of raw material is fixed. It cannot be reduced to a large extent. So they try to cut the cost by reducing the labor cost. Okay, how is it done? Now workers, they are being employed on the temporary basis. They are made to work for long hours. Wages are low. They are forced to work overtime without any overtime payment. Due to this, on one hand, MNCs are making huge profit, and even the Indian companies who are selling these products to MNCs, even they are being benefited, but the workers are denied their share of benefit. They are denied their fair share of benefit, their fair share of wages. Okay, so from this case study, it will be clear to you, on one hand, how globalization is benefiting the big Indian companies and MNCs, but how it is not benefiting the workers or the laborers. So this is a case study of a garment worker, Sushila, who is 35 years of age. She used to work in an export industry in Delhi, and she was a permanent worker earlier. She was entitled to insurance, provident fund, overtime. But the factory closed in 1990. Then she got a job which is 30 kilometers away from her home. She leaves at 7:30 am, returns at 10 am. Her earning is less, and she does not have any paid holidays, no weekly offs, and she does not get any other benefit. So her life has become miserable. She is working harder, but still the wages are low and there is no job security. There are many such workers like Sushila who lost their permanent job, and they are forced to work in unorganized sector or as contractual labor. So let's work these out. In what ways has competition affected workers, Indian exporters and foreign MNCs? So there are three sections: workers, Indian exporters and foreign MNCs, how competition has affected them. Firstly, workers. They have lost their permanent jobs. The jobs are no longer secure. The wages are low. They have to work for long hours, and there is no job security. Secondly, Indian exporters, they are facing tough competition. So they try to cut down the cost of production. They cannot cut down the cost of raw material, so they are cutting the cost by lowering down the wages of the labor. Thirdly, large MNCs, they outsource the manufacturing of products to the Indian producers. They are successful in increasing their profit by bringing down the cost of production. So on one hand we have workers, on the other hand we have large MNCs. So globalization has not been fair to all the sections of the society. Next question, what can be done by each of the following so that workers get a fair share of benefit brought by globalization? First is the government. What can government do? Government can regulate the industry by laying down strict rules and regulations which the producers are supposed to follow so that workers are not exploited. They can make certain strict rules about overtime or about working hours or about minimum wages. Second is, what can be done by the employers at the exporting factories? They can invest in newer technology to reduce the cost of production so that they are not forced to reduce the cost of labor. Okay, they have to bring down the cost of production. Either they reduce the cost of production or they reduce the cost of labor. Okay, so one thing, or the raw material. They cannot reduce the cost of raw material which they are procuring. So cost of production can be reduced by actually adapting to the newer or the latest technology. So if employers are doing it, then they will not be forced to reduce the wages of the labor. Third is, what can be done by multinational companies? Okay, so the multinational corporations, they should be more sensitive towards the labor, towards the working conditions, towards the benefits given to the labor. And lastly, what can the workers do? The workers, they can form union, they can force the employers, or they can put certain pressure, people's union or people working organization, they can force the government to make certain rules which will be fair to them. Next question. One of the present debates in India is whether companies should have flexible policies for employment or not. So, based on what you have read in the chapter, summarize the points. Now, employers, they are facing tough competition, okay, and they are getting irregular orders from these multinational companies. So, these multinational companies, they are forcing them to provide the goods at a lower rate, and the product should be of good quality. The order is also irregular. So they cannot bring down since they cannot bring down the cost of raw material, they are cutting down the cost of production by reducing the wages of the workers. Okay, so they are forced to do that. So all the burden falls on the labor. They have lost their right to have a secure job. They are now, most of the workers in India are now working in the unorganized sector. In chapter 2, I told you about organized and unorganized sector, and still there are such a large proportion of working population who are employed in unorganized sector. Next, so we found out from these case studies that globalization has not been fair to all the section of the society. So there are many such organizations who are still struggling to get a fair share from the globalization. It has not benefited all fairly. People with education, skill and wealth, they have made huge profit out of this opportunity. They have benefited themselves from the opportunities which came along with globalization. But on the other hand, there are people who could not get their share of benefit. Now, if the globalization was fair, it would create opportunities for all. Okay, it should ensure benefits are shared in a better manner among all the sections of the society. The government can play a role in making globalization fair. First, how? They can make policies which will protect the interest of not only the big MNCs and big Indian companies, but also the interest of the labor. They should consider that also. The government should ensure that labor laws are properly implemented and the workers are getting their right. And the government can also support the small producers by providing them workshops, trainings, credit at lower rate, and by providing them latest technology. The developing countries like India, they should negotiate with WTO for fairer rules. I told you the World Trade Organization, it is actually being dominated by developed countries like USA and European countries. So whatever rules they make, they favor such developed countries. So all these developing countries like India, they should form a union and they should pressurize WTO and developed countries to make fairer rules. It can also align with other developing countries. Now, in past few years, many campaigns and representations by people's organization have also influenced the important decisions regarding trade and investment. So, people can also play important role in the struggle for globalization. If people make certain unions and organization, they can put pressure on WTO and on developed countries. So that's all from this part of the chapter. Thank you.
Now, subscribe to Bright Tutee course at ₹1 per day only. Download Bright Tutee app from Play Store and get the online courses prepared by competent and experienced teachers for different education boards of classes 6 to 10. Bright Tutee courses are available for the subjects of Math, Science, Social Science, English and Hindi in English and Hindi medium. Bright Tutee follows 3-step approach, that is learning, assessment and exam preparation. In learning, topic-wise video lectures with explanation of concepts and discussion of textbook examples and questions are available with the solutions. In assessment, topic-wise online MCQ test, practice assignments and chapter-wise question bank are available with the solutions. In exam preparation, previous year's question papers, sample papers and model test papers are available with the solutions. Sign up today on Bright Tutee and avail your courses at affordable prices.